Welcome. And I know some of you know me really well, and I thank you for showing up again and for your loyalty and your support. And some of you will be new to me and my work. So very briefly, as you know, my name is Catherine Baldwin. I am the author of How to Fall in Love, a 10-Step Journey to the Heart. I am a love, dating and relationships coach, and I host courses, I host retreats, I coach one-to-one, I run workshops online and in person. And I do this because I believe that I have lots of knowledge that can help you to change your relationship patterns and find love. And I get really excited when clients of mine, as has happened quite recently, get engaged or get married, when I know that I have worked with them and they have overcome particularly this question, fear versus instinct. And that's why I wanted to do this particular workshop. So about me personally, I am happily married to a wonderful man. I am 51. And when I was 40 to 43, so I met that man when I was 40, and I spent the next 3 years in ambivalence, indecision, doubting, leaving him, completely left him, I'd say 2 times, 3 times, coming back, leaving, looking for someone else, dating someone else, leaving again. And until at 43, having done lots of work on myself with the support of a professional, I understood that I was afraid of true love, true commitment, true intimacy, that I was afraid of committing, that I was afraid of making a mistake, of getting it wrong, of saying goodbye to all those other men who could potentially be the ones. And I was terrified. And when I understood that and understood why and got to the root of all my fears, I was able to face my fears and proceed into a committed relationship, which then became a marriage. And, you know, I know that that period of indecision, ambivalence, self-doubt was excruciating for me and for him. And I know that some of my clients are in that phase right now. And I also know that just this year, in the last few months, 3 of my clients who I worked with particularly on this question, fear versus instinct, 2 of them have sent me photographs of their beautiful weddings, and one of them has just got engaged. And I know that we worked on this question, and I know if we hadn't worked on this question, they would have walked away from that relationship and found and looked for someone else. And perhaps in that relationship, they would have walked away and looked for someone else. So, and when we walk away, we think it's our instinct that's telling us to walk away. And what I would like to do in this masterclass is explore whether it is our instinct that's telling us to walk away or whether it's our fear. And it's not just about walking away from a relationship, it could be about staying in a relationship. So is it my fear that makes me stay in a relationship? Or is it my instinct? Is it my intuition? Is it my truth? And this also applies, I believe, to other areas of our life. So it is about getting in touch with our intuition in our friendships, in our relationships, in our work lives, and trusting ourselves to follow through in our best interests. And it's about understanding why we don't do that. Why don't we follow through? Why don't we trust our best instincts? Why don't we, follow through for ourselves? So that's who I am, and that's why we're here. And I'm just going to give some sort of housekeeping for this particular masterclass and have a drink. I get so excited that I tend to lose my voice. So we're here for a full hour. Some of this will be recorded, and then in the last 10 minutes or so, for those of you who want to stay on, we can have a recording-free chit chat. which is always quite a nice time when you can just say hello and maybe ask some other questions. There will be a Q&A once I've done my bit, and you can put your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, and the audio will be recorded but the chat won't be. And at some point I'm going to tell you about some ways of working with me on a deeper level, if that is of interest, as well as some free dating clinics that I'm offering over the summer, so stay tuned for that. So I believe that this fear versus instinct is my specialist subject, along with our relationship patterns, and it is my specialist subject because I went through it for so many years before I committed and then married. So what I want to explore first is intuition, instinct. What is it? How does it speak to us? Why do we ignore it? And how do we know it's real? How do we know it's our truth? So in terms of instinct, intuition, I like to think about this phrase, our inner knowing. So we have an inner knowing. We have a voice inside that some people would say is connected to, if this suits you, it might be connected to spirituality, faith, it might be connected to God, it might be connected to the universe, it might be connected to your higher self, to your best self, to your true self. And I often think about that connection to the child, to our free self. So the free self that was there before all the defenses, before we put the drawbridge up and got all these defenses to keep us safe. So before we got hurt, before our parents did something that left us feeling abandoned or rejected, before we were bullied, before we didn't feel good enough, back then there was this free soul, free spirit, free self, courageous, bold. She knew what she wanted. He knew what he wanted. They knew what they wanted. They spoke their truth without fear. But at some point in our history, often in our childhood, something happens to silence that true self, that inner knowing, and we create this false self. We create these defenses because we think we're going to be safer that way. Now, I have a very clear example of when I did that, when I was 7, 8, spontaneously. I spoke to my mum. I said that I wish she didn't do this behavior that I found really hurtful and painful. And she shut me down, shouted at me, and basically denied my truth. I'm not doing that. What are you talking about? I don't have a problem. And when she did that, because she's the grown-up, I think, okay, she knows best. I can't trust my inner knowing. I can't trust my truth. My truth isn't at all trustworthy. Other people know best. So I'm going to not trust myself anymore. I'm not going to believe in myself, and I'm definitely not going to speak my truth because that's dangerous and unsafe. Because when we're small, these people, these caregivers are responsible for our lives and our safety, and we intuitively know that. So we know that if these people don't care for us, we will die. So in that moment, when there's a sign of someone's anger or abandonment or rejection, we intuitively know that we've got to keep them on side. We can't rock the boat. So let's hide our true selves and let's ignore our inner knowing. And let's look everywhere for safety. How can I find safety? Safety through performing, through being perfect, safety perhaps through being a rebel, safety through a feeling of feeling comforted, in my case, overeating, binge eating, food, perhaps drink, perhaps drugs, perhaps a relationship that brings this sense of safety. So how can I feel safe? What do I have to do around here to stay alive? And we cling on to these crutches in order to feel safe. And we gain all these defenses and these crutches, and our true self goes into hiding, and our inner knowing is totally smothered and we can't connect with it anymore. And then we emerge into adulthood and we don't have a strong sense of self. We don't have a strong sense of our worth and our value. We don't know clearly what is right for us. We feel on shaky ground. We feel unsure of ourselves. And we look to others to answer, to tell us what we should do, or who we should like, or whether we should stay or we should go. And I sit here obviously as a coach who works with people in these questions, but I work with people to help them to understand and connect with their inner knowing, and to believe in themselves and their truth, and to know that they are capable of making their own decisions. So it is good to have support around us, but the primary relationship you want to build up is with yourself and your inner knowing and your truth. So I'm just going to describe one occasion when I absolutely trusted my inner knowing. Some of you might have heard this story. I'll keep it brief. I was in my 30s, moved to London from Brazil, and I really wanted to get around the city really quickly because I'm an adrenaline junkie and I can't stand waiting for anything, or I was. So I really wanted to buy myself a Vespa scooter, and I consulted with numerous people, and everyone said, too dangerous, you'll fall off, it will get stolen, the tires are too small, it won't be any good in the rain. And all these voices of negativity and fear. And somewhere on that occasion, deep down, I knew that when I saw this pistachio green scooter, I knew that it was for me. And I knew that that's who I was and what I wanted. And I bought it. And for the next 11 years, I absolutely loved it. And I went all over London on it. And then I sold it for a really, really good sum of money, and got a magazine article out of it at the same time, so about selling it. So I trusted myself on that occasion. I trusted my intuition. I saw this scooter and I thought, it is for me. Now with my, looking at my relationship, when I met my now husband, I saw him and I was curious. I was inquisitive. I fancied him a bit. I wanted to know more. But I needed more time. I needed to know him better. And as I got to know him, there was an attraction. But all these other voices came into my head. And you might relate to some of these things. He's not good enough. He's not handsome enough. His nose is too big. His teeth are too crooked. He's not well enough educated. I don't like the way he does this or the way he does that. And all these voices and this nitpicking and criticism came into my head. And I thought that was my intuition. I thought, well, I know that he isn't right for me. But what I discovered after doing lots of work on myself was that was actually my fear of relationship. So the first thing I'd like you to do is just have a think about an occasion when you believe that you trusted your inner knowing and it turned out really well. So when did you trust the voice inside? When did you connect with your truth? And when did you make a decision that you believe was in your best interest? And you can write this down in a notebook, or you could put it in the chat. If you can put it in the chat, that would be great, because it gives examples of other people of how we have trusted our intuition. So just for a minute or two, I would like you to think, and hopefully you can think of an occasion on when you trusted your intuition. It could be going for a job, it could be booking a holiday, it could be buying something, it could be dating, it could be leaving a relationship, it could be going into one. So if anyone would like to share something that went really well when they trusted their intuition. And if you're watching this on recording, then please do the exercise, pause the recording, do the exercise. Okay, so buying a first house, totally right for me, brilliant. Any other examples? Moving into a flat, telling a potential employer that they were advertising my job, moving into a flat. It felt right. Okay, so this is really these phrases that are being used in the chat. It was so right for me. It was, it felt right. And perhaps speaking up about that job, it felt like something that you had to do. Not pursuing a relationship turned out to be the good decision. So I'd just like you to think about what was it about that decision, this idea that it felt right. Just hold on to that idea. Can you have a think about how it feels? How does it feel when it feels right? How does it feel? Going for a different job, for less money. Yeah, being confident. So knowing that something is right for you feels like letting go, feels a release, trusting, calm inside, sense of peace. I was about to say sense of peace. It feels simple, not swirly. I like that. So think about this sense of peace. Yeah, giving up a job. And some of these decisions obviously are very courageous and perhaps a little bit scary, but we just know we have to do it. We know because we are honoring our inner knowing. And often we are honoring, well, we're honoring ourselves, but often we are honoring our inner children. And some of you will be familiar with this phrase and some of you won't. But that the child inside, or the part of us that really just wants to break free or knows the right choice, breaking down those all those defenses and going for something. So have a think about, you feel a sense of peace, you feel calm inside, not swirly, and it's simple, it's not complicated. And just when I'm reading those things, I'm thinking about why I decided to stay with my partner, now husband. It felt right. I felt, as well as all the fear, but beneath the fear, when I was with him, I felt at peace. I felt safe. I felt secure. I felt calm. I didn't feel on edge. I didn't feel unsure of myself like I had with other people I dated. I didn't feel like all edgy and insecure. I didn't feel adrenalized. I felt calm and at peace. And I wonder if you can also think now about a moment when you're pretty sure that you ignored your intuition. I can think of 5 in the last 3 days. And what I mean by that is often we don't give ourselves time to connect with our needs and our wants and our intuition. And I'm working on something right now, which is about trying not to pack out my days and fill my days and try not to run around like a headless chicken, but just step back and have some more space. And I know that's what I need. But in the last couple of days, I have, within seconds, said yes to things that my inner knowing was telling me, you don't want to do that. But I have overridden my inner knowing. So can you think of an occasion, it might be recent, it might be in your past, it might be regarding dating, it might be something else, where you overrode, you're pretty sure you overrode your intuition and acted ultimately against your best interests? And if you'd like to share some of those, please do in the chat, because it helps other people. So can you think of a moment when you overrode your intuition? It might be agreeing to do something that you know isn't right for you. It might be going on another date, returning to a relationship that I should never even have gone into in the first place. Yep, I did that. I did that numerous times. Going back, even though I knew it was wrong to start with. If you have any more examples of those, please share them. So the times when you got that little tap on the shoulder, a little bit of a churning in your tummy, or perhaps this real sense of, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but we do it anyway. Continuing a friendship when I don't really like or trust the person. Yeah, putting others first. Gosh, we could totally do a whole 3-hour masterclass on this, you know. So keep putting your examples, and then I have one more question on this, in this little area, and that is why. Why did you override your inner knowing? And you know, it's been referred to there, thinking of others first. Why do we override our inner knowing? Accepted a job when it was too much for me, awful and stressful, flattered to be offered. It was a bad idea to override my doubts. So why do we override our doubts? So why did I agree to meet someone when I knew I didn't have space? So fear of conflict, fear of being honest, fear and self-doubt, fear of missing out, yeah, FOMO, fear of missing a good opportunity. Why do we ignore our inner knowing? Don't want to upset or disappoint people or deal with conflict, yeah. Not trusting yourself to make the right decision. Confusion over what's the right thing to do, absolutely. You know, indecision, ambivalence. And the problem is, definitely in my case, is I don't allow time to connect to my intuition or my inner knowing. Yeah, clicking on profiles, although we have misgivings, being persuaded to meet up despite voicing concerns, being scared of making the wrong decision. And the should, I think I should do this. So the first thing that, I guess the first little mistake, and I don't really like the word mistake, but opportunity for growth, is we don't spend time to listen. And it's there in the chat, we avoid being with ourselves. We don't spend time to listen to our inner knowing. So let's just, you know, today, how long have you spent in communication with yourself, listening to your inner knowing? Yesterday, how long did you spend? Now, if you think about your day and your life, if I think about mine, and you know, I obviously suggest to all my clients and on my courses that we begin our day with meditation and connection to self. And absolutely, and I try to do that, and often I don't. I've had my auntie staying, I've got up, I've gone to the beach with her, I'm on the beach, but I'm not actually connected to my inner knowing. So we don't take the time to do that. And instead, we might ring 3 friends and ask their advice about this person that we're supposed to be dating. I recently made 3 phone calls to people to confirm what I knew already, to confirm my inner knowing. Now, it's really good to have people to reassure us that we're on the right track. But when we make those phone calls, often it's because we doubt ourselves. So shoulds, not wanting to be picky and then not causing pain or upset. So it's, yeah, easy to give in. So we haven't, in the time that we've got, we can't cover all this really deeply, but there are many reasons why we ignore our inner knowing. And I'd like you to think about those right now and also after this masterclass. I'd like you to think about 2 things: why you ignore your inner knowing, where that came from, where did that begin, when did that begin? Think about your early life, or perhaps at school life, or perhaps early adulthood, and somewhere you understood that you needed to follow the shoulds, or conflict was dangerous, or you didn't deserve to have a voice, or you couldn't trust yourself and others knew better. I gave you that example from my early life when I spoke up and the adult basically told me that my inner knowing was wrong and I couldn't trust myself. I'm like, oh, I can't trust myself. I can trust other people, but I can't trust my inner knowing. It's wrong. But the fact is, you have a really powerful inner knowing. You all do. I know you all do. You're all intelligent beings and you're all on this journey, and you have a really powerful inner knowing. And the thing that stops us from following our intuition, our true intuition, is that all these things we've talked about, the shoulds, that we're scared, that we don't want conflict, that we don't want to rock the boat, that we don't trust ourselves. And this isn't an easy journey to break these habits and these patterns. It really isn't. And I don't think it's a journey we can go on our own. I am supported by professionals and by other women who are on a similar journey to me. And that's the kind of support I like to offer in my work and in my groups and on my courses. I think it's very difficult for us to make these, and this isn't about asking other people what we should do. This is about getting the support to do what we know is right for us. So you know that going to date this person is a bad idea, or you know that continuing this friendship isn't good for you. So you need supporters around you to help you to break that pattern, to step back, to speak up, to not go on the date. And so you need the support, and you also need this understanding and the awareness where this comes from. Where does this come from? Why am I so terrified to show up as myself in life? Why am I so terrified to be my true self? Why am I always being my false self? So that is something that I'd really like you to think about. So this is all about the intuition and why we ignore it. Let's check the time. Why we ignore our intuition. We ignore it because we learned to ignore it, probably early on. We ignore it because it's frightening to follow it. We ignore it because we've got into the habit. We ignore it because we don't want to let other people down, because we don't trust ourselves. But all that is false. That's all built out of this false reality. It's built on fear. And I don't dismiss our fears, because they come from a really deep place, and we're going to talk about our fears in a moment. They come often from our childhoods and from a difficult place. So they are not to be dismissed. you know, I'm here to empathize with your fears because I have been through similar fears. But that is what is stopping us from showing up authentically in our lives, showing up authentically in our relationships. That's what's stopping us from pursuing a relationship or leaving a relationship or making good choices. That's what's stopping us from having healthy friendships, from pursuing our careers. So I'd just like you, as I just wrap up this bit about intuition, I'd like you to make a commitment, and you can put it in the chat. And those of you who are in my Facebook group, so that's the collective, for those of you who've done a course or a retreat or Being Real, Becoming Whole, you can use those groups to stay accountable to this. So what is your commitment? How long are you committed to spend each day in the coming week or two connecting to your inner knowing? And I would like you to write down in your notebook and in the chat if you can, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes, what you think is achievable, manageable. How long are you willing to spend in connection with your inner knowing? And I am going to commit, because I've fallen off the wagon a little bit with my meditation. So I am going to commit to spending 10 minutes a day connecting with my inner knowing. And that is going to look differently for everyone. So sometimes I think just going to the beach and walking up and down and swimming in the sea, that's connected to my inner knowing. I don't think it is. I think for me, because I'm such a person who's always moving, I think I need to sit still. I think I need to sit still, and perhaps I need to switch everything off, like my meditation apps and my YouTube videos and all that. I think maybe I just need to sit with myself, perhaps with a pen and my journal, or just listen to my breath. And if my mind wanders, I need to remember that this is about connecting to my inner knowing and just bring it back. Okay, so we have commitment to 10 minutes a day, commitment to 5 minutes, a commitment to 5 minutes a day for the next 5 days, starting with 5 minutes a day. Great. I wonder if I'm a bit ambitious with my 10 minutes. But I could split it up, couldn't I? I could do 5 in the morning and 5 in the evening. So, and have a think about what that will look like for you, connecting to your inner knowing. What will that look like for you? That could be just sitting still and breathing. And if that's really difficult, then perhaps a meditation app or a journal. Okay, so I know that this is stuff that you already know, and I know you've heard it from me and lots of other people many, many times, but this is your answer. Connecting to your inner knowing is so important. And just developing that practice, like building up the muscle in the gym. So morning pages, hand on heart. Yeah, I've got a lovely hand on heart exercise on YouTube. So hand on heart, how am I feeling? How am I feeling today? So this is about spending time with yourself. So those of you who, like me, are a bit of we run around a lot and busy, and it's about stepping back. So I could go on, but I'm going to move on to our fears. Now, we've talked about our intuition and our instinct. And I hope that that part has helped you to see, A, that you can trust your inner knowing if you spend some time with it. I hope this has helped you to see that we don't spend time with our inner knowing, but that is something that we can commit to. And I hope that the time that you commit to will show you that actually, gosh, you know what's right for you. And what is so important, and this is trial, error, what is so important is when you make a decision or take an action that goes against your inner knowing, it's to learn from it. Pause, reflect, and learn from it. So why did I do that? What was I afraid of? in that moment? Why did I say yes when I meant no? Why did I go on a date? Why did I stay too long on a date? Why did I not go on a date? It's about learning and growing. So I'm going to move on to fears, and I will share hand on heart. I'll put it in the follow-up email, unless I've got time at the end to find it. So fear. So we've already talked a lot about fear, but fear specifically, how does that show up? When we're talking about fear versus intuition, how does our fear show up in our dating and relationships, and also in our friendships? So there are two types of, I think the fear operates in two ways when it comes to dating and relationships. One is the fear masquerades as intuition, and we leave something that is actually good for us. So we might leave a relationship because we think our intuition, like in my case, we think our intuition is saying, oh, he's not the right person for me. He's not right for me. I need someone who is Oxbridge educated, or I need someone who is a journalist, or I need someone who has straight teeth, or I need someone. So we think that's our intuition. And so we leave. And our but actually it's our fear. And our fear might also keep us in a relationship. So we might think, oh, I'm afraid to leave this relationship because there isn't anyone better. Or I'm afraid to leave this relationship because I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to let them down. I don't want to hurt them. So our fears show up in different ways. So let's just talk about the first bit. When we walk away from, or don't proceed with, or rule something out. Now, those of you who've watched me before will know that, we've done this before, but what are your fears? What are your fears? And I'd like you to write some of your fears in the chat that might be masquerading as intuition. And I'll just reel some off that you might know already. Fear of abandonment, of rejection, of loving and then losing, because we have loved and we have lost in the past. Fear of suffocation. There's something about suffocation in the okay, yeah, didn't have the ability to think or act for yourself. Fear of feeling trapped in a relationship. Perhaps your paradigm or your role model of marriage or relationship was just really unhealthy, what you saw in your primary caregivers, and you thought, I don't want that. But then that masquerades as your intuition. Fear of being mocked, for mental health issues, a fear of not being good enough. A fear of being found wanting, fear of judgment. Now this is really, I think this is really important and very subtle. So I think some of us carry around this fear of, there's something wrong with me. I definitely have, probably still do. So when we grow up in a dysfunctional home, I grew up around addiction and alcoholism. We have a sense that it's our fault, that there must be something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with me if my dad has left. There must be something wrong with me if my mum is really struggling to connect with me. So this sort of innate flaw that we think we think there's something wrong with us. And then the thought of someone seeing into us, intimacy, the thought of someone seeing into me is so frightening that I don't want to get that close. So I'll get so close, but I don't want to get that close. And, then we might have the fear of getting really close and then losing that person or being rejected and abandoned because, as in my case, and in some of your cases, one of your parents may have left or died and we felt rejected or abandoned, or perhaps your parent couldn't connect with you emotionally and you felt rejected or abandoned. So love was really painful. Relationship was really painful. Intimacy felt dangerous. So then but we don't know that until we start doing this work. We don't know that. We just think, there's nobody out there for me. I don't fancy anyone. I don't really want to date. I haven't got time to date. I haven't got the energy to date. We think that there isn't anyone left, or we think that that person isn't good enough, or that person has these faults that we don't like, or my friends won't like that person, or that person doesn't like dancing salsa or going to the gym or whatever it is. So all these reasons that seem quite rational, because our brain has this ability to rationalize things. So they seem quite rational, but actually they are often our fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of making a mistake, fear of making a bold change, stepping out but finding you're still unhappy or lonely. And I think, thank you so much for sharing, and so honestly, and I can relate to all of those fears, and you're definitely not alone, and there is a way through. Very important to say that. I think this comes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. You know, the only way to, so my approach is this two-pronged approach. So we lay the foundations, and some of you have done my Laying the Foundations course, and maybe you still have some foundations to lay, but we lay the foundations, and we really have to get in touch with why we have so much fear, why we don't feel good enough, why we're so afraid of abandonment and rejection. And that is deep work, and it's the kind of work I do with my coaching clients or my courses, but we have to keep going deeper. And you know, if I tell you I've had professional therapeutic support for many years, and I continue to have that because I love it. I love to grow and learn, and it helps me to move forwards. And I also love seeing my clients growing and learning and moving forwards. So I believe that, you know, we need to keep doing this work. I don't think it's enough to, if only it was enough to just take a 6-week course or do a couple of calls or whatever it is. We need to keep looking deeper into ourselves. So who is this wounded person inside you? Why is she or he or they wounded? Where did that come from? And spending time, you know, spending time with yourself, building up your self-esteem, building up your sense of self and your sense of care and your belief in yourself. And, you know, this is the hardest stuff, because we just want to get busy, or we just want answers, or we just want to find the person. But comes back to this 10 minutes, 5 minutes a day that some of you have committed to. Perhaps doing some more work, perhaps doing some more digging. So my work is all about digging. So why do we struggle with these patterns, and why do we struggle with these fears? So I was talking about a two-pronged approach. The first prong is that you dig, you unearth, you look inside yourself, and you see where the wounds came from. You see how they're showing up in your daily life today. You get some support to work through them and to heal them. And then the next stage of facing your fears, you know, and you look at your fears and you look at your patterns. The next stage of facing your fears is you take the show on the road, and you go out there and you go dating with courage, clarity, and confidence, and with support. And you go and face those fears. So it's about being honest with yourself. I think, you know, some of you will be already dating or in relationships and will have some questions and some doubts, and you won't know whether to stay or whether to go. And I can't answer that for you. I can support you through it, but you have to keep digging. You have to keep digging and understanding, why am I afraid? What are my fears? Is this my fear, or is this my instinct? You have to spend time with your instinct and your intuition, and understand when it shows up for you, when you can trust it. And you have to, or you deserve to, walk through those fears, you know, with people around you who are cheering you on. And it is absolutely possible. And there's always different layers of the onion. So I might have walked through my fears in terms of my relationship and managed to marry, which is an absolute miracle. But my fears still show up in my life. So I say yes when I mean no. I pack my days because I'm afraid of missing out. Fears still show up. So we're always working on ourselves. So you might just want to take one of your fears. Just see the time. You might just want to take one of your fears, and you could do this afterwards because we might not have enough time right now, and look at the root of that fear. Where does that come from? When did that begin? When did that fear begin? Where did it take root? Look at the root of that fear. Then look at how that fear leads you into certain patterns. So if I don't feel good enough, I'm going to end up in a relationship with someone who isn't good enough, and who isn't good enough for me because I don't feel good enough. I'm going to end up undervaluing myself. I'm going to end up not speaking up, not valuing myself and my needs, not stating my needs. So that's how your fear shows up in your life. If I am afraid of abandonment or rejection because I was abandoned or rejected by a parent, that fear is going to show up in my life in the form of being attracted to emotionally unavailable people, because then I don't risk abandonment or rejection, because I never get that close. I never get that experience of true love, true intimacy. I can keep them at arm's length. So think about how your fear shows up in your patterns, in your relationship patterns. And then think about how you are going to get some support to overcome that fear. So what can you do to overcome that fear? Because it's not going to go away on its own. I'm sorry to say. These fears don't go away on their own. We need to understand where they come from, dig deep, heal. So do the grieving and the healing that is required, and then get some support to go out there and put what we know into practice and face our fears. So if anyone has managed to do that little exercise and would like to share it in the chat, please do. But it's you might want to take that away with you. You will have the recording to this, so you might want to go back over this bit and do that exercise. Time has flown, as it always does on these. So I am going to very briefly tell you a little bit about those of you who haven't worked with me before and want to, or who would like to continue to work with me. I'm just going to tell you very briefly about how to do that. Then there'll be a Q&A, and then we will switch the recording off. And those of you who can stay, we'll have a little chat, and I might go just over 7 for that bit, so apologies. So I would just like to let you know about a few things. I can't just press escape. Why is that? Oh, there we go. So as some of you know, I do one-to-one coaching, and I do have availability. So the way to talk to me about that would be to book a discovery call, and I'm going to put that link in the chat. So that's how to book a free discovery call with me. I have some wonderful online courses, and you can find them all here. And I have a couple of offers right now for those of you who are enjoying this, hopefully enjoying this masterclass or watching on recording. So my lower priced courses, I have an offer on those of £20 off. So that you can use the code FACEFEARS20, and that will work. Oops, not ACE, FACEFEARS20. And that will work on to take £20 off the lower price courses. So that's how to that step inside, connect with your true self, authentic self, and how to stop dating emotionally unavailable people. I can't remember the title of that one. And then I have an offer of Face Fears 50 on my self-paced courses. So that's £50 off. I'll put all this in an email to you because I know it's a little bit confusing. So £50 off How to Fall in Love Laying the Foundations, self-paced, and How to Fall in Love Date with Courage, Clarity and Confidence, self-paced, £50 off. I am running a free dating clinic through August on Thursday lunchtimes. So if you want to take a self-paced course, but you want to see me every week, you're welcome to do that anyway without the course, but that would be a great way to combine those. And then if you'd like to join my group course, the Laying the Foundations group course is beginning in September, and it's running for 3 months, and it's a fantastic course. And I have an offer on that where I will include my one-to-one coaching call included in the price. So that saves you £150. So let me just very briefly show you what I'm talking about. Share screen. I wonder if this is going to work. Yeah. So you can find the courses here. How to find an emotionally available partner, and Step Inside, Reconnect with Your True Self, £20 off both of those. Group course starting in September, Laying the Foundations. I'm including a one-to-one call at that price. And here are the self-paced courses, which you can take £50 off if you would like to do those. And just a few other things, summer dating support. So this is on my website, free dating clinics throughout August, Thursdays at 1 p.m. They will be recorded, 1 p.m. UK time. Bring your struggles, bring your challenges, ask me questions in advance. And the other thing that I would like to share with you is, my love retreat in Turkey, which is going to be amazing. If you look at the photos, October the 15th to the 22nd, transformational personal growth and healing retreat with yoga, laughter and boat trips. So the lower cost rooms will go very quickly. There's only a few of those left. So this is for women, and we do our personal development work. This work that you've been doing today, we go deeper and we do it in a group sitting in this tree house here. And then we go on amazing boat trips and we do wonderful yoga with Jane, who's very, and you don't have to have done yoga before, and you don't have to be a yogi. I'm definitely not a yogi, can't touch my toes. So I would love you to join me on that. So if you would like, you'll find that the dating support, I'm going to stop the share now. You will find the best thing to do would be to book a discovery call or send me an email if you'd like to do any of those things. That's the summer dating support. You can register there. Oh, there's a lovely comment in there from Alice. Can't wait, the Laying the Foundations and Dating Courage, Clarity and Confidence course. High enough, invaluable. Oh, Catherine is brilliant. Thank you, Alice. Yeah, so do have a look at those courses. Think about sending me an email or booking a discovery call. Here's my email. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do, if you put any questions that you have in the chat, I will answer them. I'll keep the recording on, and then for a little bit while I answer some questions, and then I will switch it off. The other thing I wanted to share with you is I'd love your feedback on this. So I have a little feedback form. It will take you about 3 to 4 minutes. And if you'd like to click on that, I'll also put that in the follow-up message. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to put in the chat, or you can unmute yourself? I know this has been a whistle-stop tour. I think we always need about 3 hours, don't we, really? But hopefully it's been really useful. And if it has been, just comment in the chat as well. But does anyone have any questions that you'd like to ask? I think there's a hand up. So would you like to speak up, or how would you like to ask a question? Yeah.
Hi, Catherine. Sorry, earlier on I just wrote it down.
I can't hear you. Why's that?
Ooh.
Oh, yes, I can. There you go.
Oh, yeah, great. Thank you for today. First of all, really, really helpful, and some love. Like, it's so good hearing other people's. It's not just all in your own head, you know. I just wanted to, you were talking about, you know, the journey you went on with your now husband, some of which I've read in partly the book and in your blogs and stuff, but there's something that really stuck out. You said, beneath the fear you felt, da 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 da. I was like, oh my goodness, that's so helpful, because there's so what practices or what, because obviously you've got these two things, you've got the fear and then you've got what else is going on underneath, and how is there anything in particular that helped you keep going despite the fact that the fear hadn't gone away? Or could you just unpack what that felt like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Great question. Yeah. So first thing I want to say is how important it is to know your fears. So the wonderful thing is you guys are all on this workshop, so you are aware of the importance of asking the question, is it my fear or is it my instinct? Now, I wasn't aware of the importance of asking that question to begin with. I didn't even know it was a question. I just thought it was my instinct that was telling me to leave. So asking the question and knowing your fears is so important, and unpacking your fears. And I think it's really important to say, because there's a lot of people out there who meet someone and then they say, oh, I just knew. It was just love at first sight. I just knew. I used to want to kill those people. I'm not a violent person, but I used to drove me mad. How can you just know? Well, I spent the whole time in total chaos in my head. Like, is it right? Is it wrong? Is it right? Is it wrong? So it's also important to know that for some of us, it's not going to feel like, oh, I just knew. It's not going to feel like that. And if you are holding out for that, then I think you are sabotaging yourself, if you're someone like me who struggles with indecision and childhood wounds. So I don't think we want to be holding out for that. I think we want to be understanding who we are and where we come from. And I suppose that's where I got to. I think finally understanding that I wasn't that person who was going to just know, that was really helpful. And allowing myself to be that person rather than judging myself and comparing myself to others who did just know. So that was important. And then in terms of just being with my partner, I mean, I had like crazy doubts, 2 days after he asked me to marry him. I'm sitting on the beach going, oh my gosh, I'm not sure this is the right thing to do. And so understanding my fears of commitment, but I had to keep coming back to the feeling. And this is why we need to spend time with the inner knowing, and we need to spend time connecting to our heart and our feelings. And I'll send that YouTube meditation around, because I had to keep coming back to the fact that I felt really good when I was with him. So it was less about what was going on in my head. So my head was like, he's not this, he's not that. What will my friends think? He won't fit in with my social circles. He's a bit quiet on an evening out. I want someone more chatty. That was my head. That was my thinking. And I had to come back to the feeling. How do I feel when I'm with him? When all those other things, like what other people think or what people will think of me or whether he fits in, when all of those are away and we're just like him and I in a tent in North Wales in the pouring rain, like, how do I feel? And I felt alive. I felt like I was having fun. I felt safe. I felt happy. I felt free. I felt at peace in that moment. And then what happens, and this often happens actually in sort of long distance relationships, then what happens is you spend a little bit of time apart and our thinking head kicks in and we think, oh, well, that wasn't that good. And actually he's not this and he's not that and he's not that. And then I'd spend another weekend like camping with him or doing whatever we did. And I just have that feeling of, this feels like home. And if I were just to lie on the sofa with him for the rest of my life, then that would be enough, So it's about the feeling. And this is why it's so important to be connected to our feelings, not detached from our feelings, which many of us are detached from our feelings. And I was and can still sometimes be. So knowing your fears, understanding and having compassion for you as a person, for where you've come from, for your challenges, understanding that you might not be someone who will just know, and giving yourself compassion for that. Taking your time, proceeding slowly, and staying connected to your feelings and trying to switch off the thinking a little bit. I think that's how it worked for me. And I hope that's helpful. Is that helpful? Or is there any bit that I didn't address?
No, really helpful. Can I be cheeky and ask a follow-up? The distance when you were dating, were you quite close locally? But I think had you moved by then? Because you know, it's that sort of navigating. Is distance a thing to be afraid of, or is it a smokescreen for the unobtainable, or is there sometimes a case for just going with it and seeing what happens, I guess?
Yeah
When a good one comes along.
Yeah, so all of those things could be happening. Distance could be a red flag. Distance could be that we are you know, that we don't want to, that it's easier to date someone who's far away because there's not much opportunity for connection. So it could be a red flag. In my case, I was living in London, he was in Poole. But so it was, you know, it was quite a distance, and we were doing like weekends or alternate weekends, but not necessarily because of him, but I had already looked at moving to the beach. I had already identified a real yearning in me to live by the sea. And I did move here because he was here, but I probably would have come here anyway, or gone somewhere else like Brighton, or probably not Brighton because I wanted a sandy beach. I probably would have come here because it's the closest, one of the closest sandy beaches to London. So for me, I did look at other people. I did think about dating other people in which the distance would have been like a red flag that I was looking for, you know, not wanting to commit. But I think in this case, you know, he was exactly where I wanted to be, really. And that meant that he was the kind of person that had similar values to me and desires in terms of outdoor lifestyle, and you know, so we just have to keep asking ourselves the question and connecting with our inner knowing and asking ourselves, is this my fear of commitment, or is this my or is this right? Is this right? Not necessarily is this right, because we don't know immediately. Is it worth gathering more information? Dating, you know, dating at those early stages is gathering information, or for many stages actually. Is this worth gathering more information about? And it's, you know, it's hard just to gather information, because what we really want to do is dive right in and get physical, and then get trapped and stuck and can't get out and lose the power of choice. That's what actually happens. But if we can stay calm and proceed reasonably slowly, we are just gathering information. About, do I want to see this person one more time? That's all you need to know. Do I want to see this person just one more next time? Do I want to see this person next time?
So freeing. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? And I'll take one more with our recording on, and then I know I've gone over time, I apologize, and then I'll switch it off, and those of you who want to say hello, you still can. Any more? You can pop them in the chat, or thanks. Okay, what I might do is wrap up. So thank you so much. And those of you staying on, I'll see you in a minute. Those of you on the recording, thanks for watching. And all the links will be in the follow-up email with this recording. So there is the feedback form. I would love your feedback. And thank you. Thank you for your comments that are coming into the chat. That's really great. And, you know, just to just to reiterate, really, I didn't get to relationship, commitment, and marriage without investing an enormous amount of time, energy, and money in my personal development. And I absolutely prioritized it. And I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't. I wouldn't be doing this webinar. I wouldn't be coaching, and I wouldn't be in a relationship and married if I hadn't prioritized it. And for some of us, we think it's just going to fall from the sky, or we're going to meet the guy or the woman or the person in Tesco's or in the queue for the airplane. I hoped that would happen, but it didn't. I had to get busy working on myself, understanding myself, and and I had to invest in myself, and it was really worth it. So thank you for your comments, and take a look at those links, and I'm going to switch the recording off.